Hello friends, this is Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and today I want to give you a glimpse of everything that we know that is coming from Star Wars in 2019. Now this is by no means a comprehensive list. It is not complete because there's always adding things and there's always adjusting different stuff for just timelines and whatnot. I mean, take a look at episode 7 and then take a look at episode 8, the change and timing. This is a pretty comprehensive list based on everything that we know up to this point today. Now, starting off, the things that I am most excited about are TV, comics, and the books. I'm a little hesitant to say that I'm really excited for episode 9. And the reason I say that, guys, is because as much as I liked episode 8, and I liked episode 8, I actually had to read the book to really develop, I don't know, a love for it, because it was, the movie left a lot of little things wanting. It left a lot of little problems in the mix. The book did solve a lot of the problems that I had with the movie. And I'm not that kind of, I mean, I used to be the guy that was like, hey, you know, the books are always better than the movie. Star Wars books typically are better than the movie. Now, I know that people are going to disagree with me and they're going to call me a heretic, but typically they are. The books are really, really well done, and they can get into the psyche and the psychology of the characters. It's awesome. If you haven't picked up a Star Wars book, I highly recommend it. But first and foremost, guys, we have The Mandalorian is coming sometime in the fall of 2019. I'm very excited about this. I love the cast and characters. I'm really looking forward to it. There are a ton of awesome characters, a lot of awesome actors. You got Pedro Pascal. So for those of you who don't know who this character is, who this actor is, this is the dude from Game of Thrones, but he's freaking awesome. He's like one of the cooler characters. I love him. You have Nick Nolte and Carl Weathers. Now, amongst all the other cast, those two are really exciting for me because it makes it feel like this is going to be like a 1980s action movie, really gritty and grimy. And I mean, those are the two that just scream 1980s, Nick Nolte and Carl Weathers. Not Nick Nolte to be confused with Gary Busey, two different guys, right? For those of you who are too young to remember, who know who either of those two guys are. But seriously, Carl Weathers, really freaking excited about that. The things around it. Recently, Jon Favreau admitted, sent out a Instagram post that IG-88 is going to be a part of the show. Very stoked to see what that's going to be about. If you guys haven't read Star Wars, I think Empire's End, there's an aside, there is a section in between the actual story that does tell of some life on Tatooine, some goings-on Tatooine, and I am very freaking excited about this. Now, next, we have Star Wars Resistance. It should pick up, I believe, the second half of the first season here in the next couple of weeks. If you haven't seen Star Wars Resistance, I liken it to every other Star Wars cartoon. It is tough to get into in the beginning. Now, I say that, and immediately you guys are like, oh, Clone Wars was awesome. Really? Half the people hated Ahsoka when she was first released. Half the people hated Ezra when it was first released. That's what I'm feeling here. The cartoon style, the animation style, I kind of like. It's kind of frustrating. I know that it's going to evolve, much like Clone Wars evolved, much like Rebels evolved, and I'm excited. Now, if it finishes the first half of the first season, in the first half of the year, it's a lot of first halves, it will start its second season if it's greenlit, and it's gonna be greenlit. I mean, I'd be shocked if it wasn't, for a fall season 2 launch. That's gonna give us a lot of really cool information leading up, essentially, to episode 7, because that's where Resistance is. Resistance takes place, I think, in the months leading to episode 7. And so it is very possible that we could see some really cool things being introduced that would then lead or address or kind of give more depth to episode 7, then episode 8, and then episode 9. The thing that I am most excited about, the thing that I'm so freaking stoked about, Star Wars Clone Wars Season 7. And I think a lot of you guys are out there like, yes, the Clone Wars are getting some much needed closure. And hopefully they are, because a lot of episodes, a lot of stuff was left out of the Clone Wars. Some of those story arcs have already been taken and addressed. You saw the Battle of Mandalore, which does seem to be a big focus for Season 7, addressed at least a little bit in the Ahsoka novels. You saw what happens to Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Vos, at least kind of what happens to Quinlan Vos in The Dark Disciple. That was a phenomenal novel. If you guys haven't read it, it is so freaking cool. I don't like Quinlan Vos. This made me kind of open up a little towards him. Great character. That story's phenomenal. And it was originally a story arc from Star Wars Clone Wars. We have the Bad Batch, that there is kind of production of the Bad Batch out there. I don't think they're going to show us the full creation of the Bad Batch, but I think we're going to see the introduction simply because there's a number of characters, a number of stills of people from the Bad Batch already in the one trailer we've seen. Now, we don't know when this is going to launch. I'm really hoping that it launches in the first half of the year. I'd love it to be in the first quarter of 2019. I don't think that it will be, but based on my research, I don't have a time or date as of yet. But very excited for when that does come out. Now, next on the list is... Now, I'm really excited for the comics, guys. The comics have been a great addition to the canon in all of its forms. If you look at the comics from the old canon, there were some awesome comics. There were some great that were turned into graphic novels. Some phenomenal Star Wars storytelling is done via comic book form. I highly recommend it. If you don't currently read the comics, there's a number of great new ones out there, just as much as there's a number of great old ones that are phenomenal. Right now, I'm loving, just finished the Darth Vader series. Now, this was the most recent Darth Vader series. It is amazing. So freaking cool. Very poetic, very brutal, and really just awesome. Very excited for that. And once they are all in like one compendium, going to be buying it because it is great. I am currently reading the Star Wars, like main title Star Wars, and that's really cool too. I'm trying to get into Poe Dameron, but it's a bit of a struggle. I don't like Poe a lot. I don't necessarily care for his character. He's okay, but I really like the story that is being told. Plus, with its connection to Resistance, the cartoon, I just feel like I need to. There were other great comics, and it looks like we are getting a series of really, really cool ones coming in the next little bit. Now, as I've always mentioned, guys, some of my favorite things that have come out of Star Wars are the novels. Now, for those of you who know me, you know my story, you know my connection to Star Wars wasn't from the films originally. I didn't grow up in a family that had the movies on VHS or DVD. But what got me into Star Wars was the lore itself. I was playing a game, Star Wars Miniatures by Wizards of the Coast with a friend of mine. I was getting my butt kicked, and I did some research on these characters so that I could build a better team and really just destroy my friend. And that led to me researching these characters and reading these stories, and they were awesome. And so I went out and I went through the old canon, and I found all of the books, and I found all of them that were on audiobook, and I just went through, fell in love with the Star Wars universe. And so for me, when a new book is coming out, it is just like getting a brand new movie. In fact, I'm more excited for the books. And this year we have some awesome ones. Now, this is a list of the current ones all the way up through July 23rd, which guys, I can't even begin to describe how excited I am for that day. Now, first we have Lou Anderson's. It's a junior novel. It's called Pirate's Price, but it's about Hondo, and you better believe that I'm going to be reading it because it's got Hondo. I am a Hondo fanboy, love him, very excited about that. Now, another young adult novel. Now, the young adult novels shouldn't be knocked immediately. The junior novels, okay. I mean, they're definitely geared towards a much younger audience. But keep in mind that Claudia Gray's Lost Stars was a young adult novel, and hands down has been one of the better Star Wars novels that has come out. So don't completely knock it. Now, Queen Shadow, I'm going to give this one a chance just because I'm sure that in March I'm not going to have a lot to read. And so the Queen Shadow is going to be following Padme Amidala during kind of her formative years, leaving the queenship, becoming a senator. And I love the Padme story. I think she's a really strong character. And E.K. Johnston is a wonderful author. She was the one that wrote Ahsoka, and I really liked Ahsoka. I thought that was a solid, solid book. The reference books, I think they're great if you like that stuff. There's a lot of hidden gems in these reference books. Really, if you want to look for some Easter eggs for what's coming, if you want to see the Darth Revan, some of the other reference books that are out there, these are solid purchases, guys. And by all means, but there's two books that I am so excited for. Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray. I am freaking stoked. First of all, like I said, Claudia Gray, as she did Bloodline, which was phenomenal. She did Lost Stars, again, young adult, but it's a solid story. Just a phenomenal story. Master and Apprentice is meant to tell the story of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn. And it's when, Obi-Wan is a Padawan. It is going to explore the connection between Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, and if I am correct in my assumption, it's going to bring in the Mandalorians. Now, that will be a freaking awesome moment for all of Star Wars, to be honest, but it's going to be just a phenomenal moment because it will introduce, if that's the case, Satine, Duchess Satine, and I cannot wait to figure out more because a lot of the fan theories that are about who Rey is involve Obi-Wan Kenobi, involve Duchess Satine, they involve Sabine, and I'm really freaking excited to figure out what, if anything, this book is going to tell us. It's going to tell us a lot because I'm really excited, and that comes out late April or mid-April. I'm very freaking stoked. Then finally, there's Alphabet Squadron. I've never been a huge fan of the squadron battles. To me, it's all about the Jedi. I love the politics in the Star Wars universe. I think it's fascinating. But the third book, the thing that I'm most excited for, July 23rd, the third book in the Thrawn series, Thrawn Treason. I can't, guys, the original Thrawn trilogy was phenomenal. Timothy Zahn created a character that was awesome. It was formidable. He was a great military leader. The new trilogy I have fallen in love with. Book 1 is phenomenal. Book 2 is whatever is past phenomenal in excellence. Book 3 is going to be great. Now, this is the excerpt. It says, it is a sequel to the 2018 novel Alliances, where we saw Thrawn figure out who Darth Vader really is and call him on it. It is sweet. But it's set before the finale of Star Wars Rebels. He's going to cross paths with director Krennic and Eli Vanto. Now, for those of you who remember, Eli Vanto wasn't in the second one. He was in the first one. And what happened to him in the first one, I'm not going to say. I won't ruin it. But that's going to set up a lot of really cool stuff. If Eli Vanto returns in Thrawn Treason, and it looks like he will, what will he return as? Who will he bring with him? And what will that mean for the canon as a whole? Guys, this is a huge turning point. This is a watershed book for Star Wars. I very, very excited for this. And I'm excited. I'm so stoked, guys. This is going to be a lot to read, a lot to talk about in the Star Wars universe, and this is freaking cool. Now, also, outside of the books, outside of the comics, we have 2 games that are going to be released, or theoretically going to be released. One we know for sure might, or is likely to be released, and that is Fallen Order, the story of the Jedi, or I believe it's Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. This is the new EA game that is set to launch just before the movie. It'll be an October, November launch, and this is going to give us a lot of really cool information about the Jedi after Order 66. It is, I think it follows a character named Cal. We don't rightly know. This is a Padawan. He was a Padawan during Order 66. But that's going to be an EA game, and I'm really looking forward to playing it. Now, the next game is a mobile game, and while I'm not sure if I'm as excited about this, this is Zynga. Zynga is a mobile game company, and they have just gathered 3 major titles: Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and Star Wars. Now, we had a mobile game go away in the form of Star Wars Arena, which is sad because just people didn't get into it. But I'm curious to see what this new video game from Zynga is going to look like. Obviously, it'll start off with probably a few bugs. It'll probably start off with a smaller player base, but I am stoked. They haven't released much information about it, at least in my research. But again, very excited. This year is going to be phenomenal. This is not to even mention that this year also starts the Game of Thrones directors. They are going to start pre-production, I believe, in February for their series, their trilogy that is set to launch, I think, in 2020, 2021, not entirely sure. I am excited for the Cassian Andor TV show that should probably launch 2020, hopefully early 2020, hopefully late 2019. Very excited about that. There's a lot of really cool stuff. And because Disney's pulled back and said, hey, we've upset our fan base. We're gonna maybe do some reevaluation and maybe get it right. Hopefully get it right. I am excited, guys. The future of Star Wars is going to be great. And I look forward to every book, every TV show, every episode, every movie, every comic, every little tidbit of information that comes out. What are you excited for in 2019? Leave a comment in the section below. Join us on Discord. I'll leave a link in the section below. If you're not already part of the conversation, join the conversation. Visit us on Going Nerdy. Let us know what you think. This has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as always, my friends, stay nerdy.